the college football playoff and the madness that's going on. Let me just put it to you. Let me put it to you this way. I am more of an NFL fan than I am a college fan. That's being totally honest with you. Obviously, I know sports. I have to know sports. I grew up on sports, not just a basketball coach, but a huge sports fan all around. Even though I was a basketball coach, I am more of a football fan than I am basketball, if that makes any sense. I know it kind of sounds counterintuitive, but it's the truth. And I know basketball inside and out, obviously, to be able to teach it. But football's the same way. And college, a little bit less than pro, as I said. So I'm not going to get into all the details, right? I don't even follow it enough and study enough to understand all the minutia behind the scenes. So I'm going to talk about it in terms of what most everybody, how you talk, how you are around the water cooler and you're talking or texting with your friends and this total nonsense that's going on. Number one, obviously, Notre Dame misses out. Miami gets in. Two-loss team, Miami. 3-loss team, Alabama, and I watched the entire game on Saturday. They looked awful. Part of it is because Jam Miller, running backs, both out. That's a huge, obviously a huge drop-off in talent and the ability to have a balanced offense. I got it. But you were outplayed, outcoached, out-everything again by Georgia, and you ended up losing your third game of the year. How you're in that conversation to enter in over Notre Dame is beyond me. In my opinion, Notre Dame is one of the best teams in the country right now. And I can tell you that I used to be a much bigger college football fan than I am now. I kind of got turned off by the system, and some of it is what we're talking about here. Long before the college football playoff ever came about, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and in Michigan, and lived there for 53 years of my life. Just moved to Florida February of this year. Was a long time Michigan fan until Jim Harbaugh started pulling all his nonsense. And even before then, to be honest with you, although I was happy when Harbaugh came initially, the Brady Hoke experiment, the Rich Rodriguez experiment, the embarrassment of the program. But then what Harbaugh did, and the way he did it and the way he acted, and year after year after year after year getting beat, they lost me as a fan, and I still haven't returned, and I doubt this is the football program. I doubt that I will, and they're kind of a mess in a different way. That's a topic for another day. But one of the things growing up that I used to always be upset, this is, again, pre-playoff time, when everybody, including myself, was screaming from the rooftops, need a playoff, need a playoff, need a playoff. Look at March Madness. Why can't the college football season be like that? Okay, so we ended up getting it, obviously. And there is no real fix to it all. But back in that day, Michigan used to always play Notre Dame, basically the second game of the year, speaking of. And it was like if you lost that game, your season was over. No matter what you did the rest of the year, unless everybody had one loss, you were finished. Anybody who had no losses, who finished the season undefeated, was clearly ahead of you, and you had no chance. So that really stunk. I am a believer it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Obviously, I have that mentality as a coach. There are times when I coached a team, and we were, every time, really, we were never as good in the beginning as we were in the end. And I wish there was some sort of system that was flawless and that seamless is really the better word, where you could have the teams that are playing best at the end, and you don't have to rely on a head-to-head matchup that is like 90 days ago. Who gives a care, to say that nicely, what happened in the Miami and Notre Dame game 90 days ago in a 3-point game? Who cares? Who's the better team right now? I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I'm a huge Marcus Freeman fan, to be honest with you, but I'm not a Notre Dame fan by nature. As a matter of fact, I grew up hating Notre Dame because of the Michigan and Notre Dame rivalry. But the truth is the truth. And I've watched a lot of Miami. I've watched a lot of Notre Dame. Miami's a mess. They're inconsistent. They're not very well coached. And you're looking at Notre Dame that arguably has the best coach in college and arguably has the best player in college. They went 10-2. Yes, they're independent. A lot of people don't like that about them. Go get into a conference and all this and this and this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I can't wait to get into another part of this in a few minutes. And I have a note here to make sure I don't forget, because I gotta cover this. Notre Dame is a better football team right now than Alabama and Miami. You can put them both, either one of the Bama and Miami against Notre Dame right now on some street yard, in the parking lot, or wherever, and I'm just going to give it to you real. Notre Dame will kick their ass. Either one of those teams. And it's sad that we as fans don't get a chance to see Notre Dame in this playoff. Again, people say, oh, some guy sent me some message. They're not martyrs. Go enter a conference. They're whining like usual. This has nothing to do with as usual. This has nothing to do with in the past. It's just if you're honest and you're objective, you take your homer hat off and you just call it what it is. Notre Dame's the better football team than either of those two. Then you want to take it a step further and you want to say, okay, James Madison and Tulane are in, and Notre Dame's sitting on the outside looking in. Vanderbilt sitting on the outside looking in. You think to yourself, how in the world is that even possible? How, in what world does that make sense? Now, you want to take care of the little guy. I got it. I understand the thought process behind it, but it's not realistic. And here's the truth. And this is whether you had the 14 playoff, which I was not a fan of. I have always been a fan of a 16-team playoff, but I'll accept the 12. If you have 4, or you have 12, or you have 16, there's always going to be somebody left out. It may not be to this type of degree, but it's going to happen. Look at March Madness. There's bubble teams and there's teams that get left out, and there's a yearly argument leading up to, during, and after. We should have been there. See, look what happened. Oh, this, oh, that, or the 65, the 65th team gets in there. We should be in there. Why aren't we in there? We could do damage. It will be argued forever. Doesn't matter how many teams the playoff is. This one's pretty egregious. So let me just take the pro football context here for a moment. And I wish it could be like this in college. It's obviously not, but I wish it could be. So I'm a big Detroit Lions guy from Detroit. You can see it on the back. If you don't know me, huge Lions fan. So you have Green Bay that beat the Lions twice. No matter what we think, no matter what we say about Green Bay, we had 2 shots and they beat us both times. First game of the year, and then just on Thanksgiving, whatever it is, 2 weeks ago. Spread out by 10 weeks or so? You have a body of work over the course of a year where if you lost the first game, opening game, and 10th week or 11th week, whatever it was, and you had a chance to redeem yourself, you didn't. So no matter what happens the rest of the way, and it's not going to happen, but if you were some possible way in a tiebreaker, you have nothing to say. You got beat twice, take your ball and go home. Guys, we cannot say that in this particular case. Notre Dame and Miami played once 90 days ago. A lot has happened in 90 days. People want to say, oh, they played Pittsburgh. Oh, they played Navy. Oh, they played this team. Oh, they played that team. Dude, they played Texas A&M. They played Miami. Come on now. Let's be honest. Let's be real here. Here's the real truth that's going on. In my opinion, this is political. This is 100%. This is sports politics at its finest. And I just found this out right before I went on air. I didn't even know this. As I was seeing the quote from the ND AD, the Miami and Notre Dame game was replayed 10 times on the ACC network, I think it was, in the 5 days or so leading up to the weekend. There's no question that ESPN and the SEC are together in cahoots. And there's no doubt that a lot of people want Notre Dame to enter into a conference. And I think that they think that doing something like this is going to force their hand to do it. Well, here's what I'm here to say. Notre Dame is arguably the biggest brand in college football. Whether you like them or you don't like them, it is a massive brand. And now that they have Marcus Freeman, in full and total respectability is back to that program on a national level, and it's not going anywhere, and I don't think he's going anywhere, now they are in a stronger position than they have ever been. Now you just went to war with them. And now the AD, and I believe it's 22 or 24, other sports participate in the ACC. And he said, Pete Bavacqua said, it is permanent damage. Permanent. They didn't like they didn't like the way that they were treated. Kind of hard to argue. So they're independent in football. They're not independent in other sports. And look at, I would say the same thing if it was Alabama. This has nothing to do with it being Notre Dame, by the way. Just, I got to say it. If it was Miami, if it was whoever, Oklahoma, I don't care who the team is. It cannot function like this. And I'll be honest, I don't know the fix. Honestly, you could say, okay, Bama, you lost 3 games and you shouldn't be in there. We're going to put both Miami and we're going to put Notre Dame in. You're the oddball out. Okay, then you got Vanderbilt. There's no exact seamless way to make this work without some sort of blowback. This one is large. It's who the school is. It's how they have played. It's when they played against the team who got in over them. And, people say, well, head-to-head matters. If it doesn't matter, why do you play the game? Well, I hear what you're saying. But the result 90 days ago and what the result would be now are two completely different things. There's injuries that happen. There's growth in teams. There's regression. There's improvement. There's all sorts of things. So we're going to judge it based on that. Or one of the two teams suddenly gets, and I'm going to talk about the Chicago Bears in a minute, suddenly gets this whole row of teams where everything went wrong with those teams and it just fell right. And then they go into some playoff. It happens in basketball. It happens in the NFL playoffs. And then they just get blasted. See the Pittsburgh Steelers for that one. So it's a really, really tough fix. And I don't know if there is one. So it's all over social. It was all day long yesterday. And as part of what I do, I have to monitor that all day. I don't have the girl's name. I should have wrote it down. I don't have her name in front of me. But she does reporting for ESPN. And she comes out and she says, and then she's not the only one, in fairness to her. There were many. This is how you treat your players. And this is the memory that they're going to have. And this and this and this. And this is how you take your ball and you go home, but you're doing it pouting. And you're going to withdraw from a bowl game. Hello? Couple of things. Number one, the team voted on it. The captains were consulted by Marcus Freeman, and they had an in-depth conversation as to their input on how they wanted to proceed. No one has, and not even the coach, by the way. As a longtime coach, I'm telling you that we as a coach have the pulse of every single player, but no one has the pulse of the players like their fellow players. The captains were asked, how do you feel about this? What do you believe that we should do? What would you guys like to do? They gave their opinion. They're disappointed. And they talked to a lot of the different guys. And we're in a different era now. And I'm not saying I agree with this. I didn't like it when it started to happen, where guys withdraw from bowl games. This is pre-playoffs. Guys were starting to protect them. Both Bosa's did it, I think. They were one of the first, if I'm not mistaken, that did that. I don't necessarily like that. Ole Miss versus Notre Dame. I'm not sure what you're saying there. You're saying it should be Ole Miss versus Notre Dame, Mr. Roll Tide, Oregon versus BYU. Those are the matchups you're suggesting that it should be. Interesting. ND should join the ACC. There's another guy. Yeah, well, I don't know. If your school had the opportunity to be independent, I think you'd consider it too. But that's just my opinion. So the players had a say in this. It isn't as if Marcus Freeman and the ADD and the administration, they all said, hey, we're just going to walk away and we're not going to the bowl game. No one wants to go to Tony the Tiger Bowl or the Pop-Tarts Bowl or the whatever else Chick-fil-A Bowl. They're not interested. And even the guys who are freshmen and sophomore, when a situation happens like this, they're not too thrilled about going to play either. And the top level players that are ready to go to the NFL and go through that process, they're not going to risk injury. So they're going to pull out anyways. And this gal and other people were so irresponsible in what it was that they were saying. There's probably not one, I don't want to speak as if I know this, but there's probably not many, if any, from Notre Dame that say, hey, I don't even know what bowl game they would go to. What are we doing? Let's go out to Orlando and play I don't know, whatever. I don't even know the names of the bowls anymore. It's so whacked out. It's so ridiculous. The Outback Bowl or whatever, Chick-fil-A Bowl, whatever it is, it doesn't mean anything. Somebody said, look what Georgia did in 2023. They got excluded and they went out and they won 63-3. That's how you handle it. Okay, whatever. So I don't agree with how money has taken over, and it's taken away a lot of the importance of the game, a lot of the teamwork. And like I say, guys, for years now, literally years, have been stepping away and basically no longer like removing their own ineligibility or eligibility to preserve themselves for the draft process so as not to get hurt and go through all of that. So when these people just come out and make these blanket statements and they keep on referring to them as kids, they're not kids. They're young men. They're young men. Please don't refer to them as kids. I understand the point of view. I understand what you're trying to say, but they're young men and they should be referred to as such. They're not necessarily grown adults like me at 53, but they're not kids. Kids are like 8, 10, 12, 14, maybe even 16. They're grown men, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Iowa State and Kansas players declined bowl invitations. Yes, sir. I believe it's 5 teams total now withdrew. And that was as of yesterday. I didn't even see it today. There may have been others. And again, this is the system we are in now. This is how money changed everything. I don't know how you fix that either. I really don't. But the importance of bowl games that are not college football playoff related bowl games, like Cotton, Orange, Rose, Sugar, like you see on the screen there, Fiesta, Peach Bowls, they don't matter. They really never did. It was always the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl. But it used to be, this is way back. I mean, I'm showing my age. It was like the Blue Bonnet Bowl, and it was all these crazy lower bowls when the system was different. You can't go back 25 years and act like that's the system now. It's not. Things have changed. Times have changed. The system has to be changed. It has to be adapted. This is not the last time this will happen. If they don't fix it, it's going to happen again. And the problem is, I don't think that there's 100% fix to any of this. No matter what move they make, there is always going to be somebody that didn't get in that should get in. And me personally, the teams like James Madison, I don't know so much about Tulane, but James Madison, come on, let's be real. You would have to have Dante Moore go down, his backup, the whole offensive line, I don't know, get the flu for them to even be able to be within 20 points. I mean, you're looking at something like a 55-7 game coming right down the pipe. So, like, what is the point? Now, those schools, I understand you want to have a chance to play for something. People say, oh, they need the money. Same thing when these big schools play the cupcakes in the beginning. It gets very frustrating to watch that. Alabama versus McNeese State or something like that, or Kennesaw State versus Oklahoma or some other power. It's very frustrating to see that, and they get paid to play in those games. Make it so there is enough money that you can disperse it out, equally or some formula, whereas you're not going to put them in this playoff. You want to make like an NIT, like basketball. You've got the NCAA tournament. You've got the NIT. Make a different tournament for them. I don't know what to say, but James Madison doesn't belong in there, and I can argue that Tulane doesn't belong in there. Miami and Texas A&M. Texas A&M is going to win that game. Ole Miss and Tulane, even without Lane Kiffin and everything that's going on there, they're going to beat Tulane. Alabama and Oklahoma, that's actually going to be a pretty tight game. We'll see if Jan Miller comes back. And then Oregon's just going to blitz JMU. And even if Miami was to beat Texas A&M, although, all right, I'm going to get yelled at for this. Okay, I'm going to get hit for this, especially on the replays when I cut this up and I put it everywhere. I'm not a big fan of Ohio State. I don't think that they're the best team. I actually think Indiana's a better team than Ohio State. We saw that a couple days ago, and I don't think that that was a fluke. I actually think Texas Tech is probably a better team than Ohio State. I think Georgia's a better team than Ohio State. But nevertheless, if Miami beats Texas A&M, I don't think Miami has a chance in heck to beat Ohio State. I don't see it. Ole Miss and Tulane, the winner, they're not beating Georgia. Texas Tech and Oregon, that'd be a heck of a game. That'd be one of the best games of this entire playoff. And then Ole Miss, Indiana against Alabama or Oklahoma, it'll be a pretty good game. But Indiana's very, very, very good, and they got a chance now to get their other wide receiver back. Tulane and Ole Miss. Ole Miss has no shot against Georgia, and they didn't have a shot even if Lane Kiffin was there. And any Ole Miss fans here, I'm sorry, Lane Kiffin, that team operates better with him than who has replaced him. It's point blank period. You can look on my YouTube. I recently put some things out about Lane Kiffin. I don't like all the things and the way he does things, but everybody's upset at the guy. If you think he's not all this and you don't think he's a very good coach, what are you so upset that he's gone for? You take LSU's job over Ole Miss 100 out of 100. Sorry if there are Ole Miss guys here. It's just a bigger job. The best athlete in the world, if they have to choose, let's say money's equal. Let's say NIL money is equal, and I'm going to give you $2 million, and you're going to give $2 million, or $5 million, or $10 million, whatever the number is. They're picking, unless they're central to that area, have a family, a friend, something in their lineage that says that they need to be go to Ole Miss because it means something in their family tradition. That aside, you're going to go to LSU or you're going to go to Ole Miss. You're going to LSU, and expect him to be in here very, very soon, if not next year, the year after, and Lane Kiffin will win at least 2 national titles. Save this video, and if you know anything about my background and these predictions, I'll take my track record. So anyways, it's a disaster. Notre Dame got jobbed to close this part out. I appreciate what he's done, what they've done. In order to get this to change, you need one of the biggest guys on the block, one of the biggest names and brands in all of sports with the power of a Notre Dame to enact and create change and to shake up ESPN and to shake up the powers to be that say, look, we're not going to tolerate this, and we're strong enough and powerful enough to get enough backers behind us and enough other universities that don't agree with what just happened. Because make no mistake about it, it happened to Notre Dame this time. It can happen to it has happened to somebody else. It can be somebody else and somebody else. The system is broken. It's flawed. Going from 12 teams to 16 teams is not going to change it. Again, I don't know what the fix is, but all those guys in the room, I don't know, maybe they're the wrong guys. Something's not right. And a lot of it is politics. And unfortunately in life, whether it's a job, whether it's a girlfriend, whether all sorts of things, politics whatever it has to do with, it doesn't have to be politics as in a president or a candidate versus another candidate. There's politics in everything in this world, and there's politics involved in having Alabama. And I personally, this is my opinion only, it has nothing to do with this situation. I believe the SEC is the best conference in the world. And I grew up in Big Ten country, which, can they please change their name? Isn't there 18 teams now in the Big Ten? Can we change that name? Please. SEC is where it's at. I'll take that to my grave. People, Ohio State. Look what Ohio State did. Michigan won. Well, welcome to the party, pal. You haven't, Michigan, when's the last time you won? 1997 against Ryan Leaf? Ohio State, prior to this year, when's the last time last year, when's the last time you won? So I don't even want to go down that road because I won't stop talking about it. But that thing's a mess, and it's going to be talked about for quite some time now.